Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful Rabbit Hole Lore and Fray, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. The narrative all year long is that Switch is on the way out. It's going to be replaced by PS5. There's nothing Nintendo is going to do in order to compete with that. I've seen a couple of narratives thrown out there that, like, the Switch is old, that the PS5 is becoming more and more popular, that developers are only going to support the PS5, that people are tuning out of these low budget like Nintendo games, and there's another narrative that has surfaced that I think really deserves being talked about because it's so out of left field and so ridiculous and so absurd that it really needs to be talked about. And I've seen this come up a couple of times from people like Sean Malmstrom and some of these like super anti-Nintendo like conspiracy theorists. There is this very real agenda, right, that to try and push everything Nintendo does in a negative light. And in this specific situation, this is a really good example of how these kinds of people will take a Nintendo W and try to and spin it into an L. And that is, of course, like the realization that we are going to be getting new Nintendo movies. Now, the conspiracy is that because we aren't getting any new Switch games, apparently, because Nintendo is about to replace the Switch, which isn't actually happening. Like, according to these people, Switch is on its deathbed, even though it's, like, selling tons of units and still selling plenty of games. But in their imaginary reality, Switch is failing, and Nintendo is focusing all of their efforts onto their film productions, right? Nintendo is producing the Mario movie, the Mario movie 2, The Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, Donkey Kong Country. Like, they're focusing on all these movies, their theme parks, like all of these multimedia adventures, but not the games. You know, that's the legit conspiracy, is that Nintendo is going to be so focused on making high-quality, successful films like the Mario movie that the games themselves are going to be an afterthought, right? The games themselves are going to be like tools to promote the movies instead of like the other way around, right? Like the games are going to be like not the focus in for Nintendo's business model going forward. They are going to go third party because they are going to be focusing on films. Like, it's absurd, right? Right. This should be like a moment of celebration. There should be a moment where we all kind of sit back and think that, like, oh yeah, this is a really good, successful venture for Nintendo for its multimedia properties, right? Being able to release Mario for a film and have it do so exceedingly well, right? You know, after years of trying to be told that, like, Castlevania, The Last of Us, Edge Runners, that there were so many better video game movies out there. Like, seeing Nintendo, like, come out and dominate so thoroughly, dominate The Last of Us without even trying, like, who do you know still talking about The Last of Us right now, dude? Like, Nintendo is just dominating this specific niche of, like, video game adaptions, and this should be a big deal because we've spent like the past couple of years being told that, like, oh, this is the golden age of video game adaptions. And now that, like, the best one has come out, now that the Mario movie has come out, we've seen a sudden shift in which people are like have stopped talking about it. People don't want to admit how good the Mario movie is, and they don't want to admit how successful Nintendo is for making it. These people are all over, like, praising Konami for Castlevania or like CD Projekt Red for Edge Runners or or Naughty Dog for, like, how The Last of Us turned out. But, like, the instant you bring up Mario, you have people, like, trying to say it's not going to make $1 billion. It looks like it's going to. You have people saying that, like, it's not a good film. It is. You have people saying that the characters are shallow. They're perfectly fine. You have people saying that, like, Princess Peach is a girl boss and that Mario doesn't do anything. You honestly get the impression watching this that a lot of these people, Grace Randolph, Angry Joe, haven't seen the movie at all. I was about to say Sean Malmstrom, but Sean Malmstrom is actually, like, very good at talking about, like, the very positive aspects of the Mario movie. I really need to make a video about that, actually. But for most people, in the sphere, there's this sense that they desperately need to damage control everything that Nintendo does, right? Like right now we're in this phase where people are like implying that they believe that the next Nintendo console will be a great disaster and will throw Nintendo off the console industry and they'll never again have a success like the Switch, right? That's the narrative they're going with. In reality, I think we're kind of at that point where it is impossible for Nintendo's console brands to fall off the way they did, because previously it was always like third parties screwing them over. It was always like, competing with Sony and Microsoft. It was always just like these insane, like elaborate conspiracies to try and like undermine them. And it's gotten to the point now where I think Nintendo is so big, is so well known, it's just not going to work anymore. Like, I remember growing up and being told that like Nintendo sucked because it wasn't realistic, but now it's become like popular for that same reason, right? Like the narrative that I grew up with, that like Nintendo wasn't realistic enough, that it wasn't mature enough, it's not really something that anyone brings up or cares about anymore. It feels very much like a narrative that's fallen out of style, right? And I've said this like several times. I wonder. I wonder just how much the Nintendo hate can like realistically continue, right? It feels like more and more that like people are making fun of people like Arlo, people like RGT85, people like people who spend their entire careers like attacking Nintendo and hating them. Like how much realistically can they continue doing this? I don't think it can realistically continue. Like I think after the Angry Joe thing with like the movie and giving it a poor review, like I think like these people are going to have a lot of trouble. First of all, convincing people not to go see these movies, and second of all, convincing them that these movies were bad. People went to go see the Mario movie, had a blast with it, and then went home to see critics like trying to say it was terrible. And then like it kicked off this whole phenomenon of people just making fun of critics and like pointing out the fact that like nobody really cares what they think. That's kind of where we're at now. It's going to be very difficult to downplay the Nintendo brand going forward because of the Mario movie. And I think most people do not understand that.